sheep are out the post, and away he goes.
I haven't been watching many of the outruns already this morning, Mike, but that looks a little bit wide to me. Do you think it might hurt him a little bit?
Yes, I've not seen any of the points through yet. But if he needs to redirect him, which he has, yeah, he'll probably take a chunk off there because he's gone more of an apple outrun rather than the pear-shaped. But he was looking up the field, hadn't quite seen them. But it's a long, long way for a dog to see. Getting a reminder just to turn out slightly. He's coming downhill towards him. Might just push them.
Kind of on the edge of the bank there. You would sort of like him to kick up onto the bank a bit maybe, but he looks plenty deep there too.
Yes, and they're getting out of the way. I don't think that dog at the front had any effect. The sheep are quite happy. Nip goes down on the floor. Pushes him right-handed again to hit this fetch gate. We need to come in a letter Y to this.
It's a little bit tricky, like you said, Mike. It's a letter Y, so he overcovered a little bit in the top there. If it was a normal outrun, it's fine. But just because he's got to bring him off at that angle, he's not bringing him on the balance to the handler.
That's right. It gives the judges opportunities to take a few points off, but he's got them back on quickly, so it'll only be 1 or 2. This dog's got such a turn of speed as well when he asks him. Just feeling the sheep there. Just overcorrected. Pushing him wide now.
I was hoping he was going to catch him there in time. That little overcorrection cost him and just turned him out. I thought they were actually through the gates myself. And
yes, and I think David did as well till he realised where they were.
Well, we have the benefit of the camera, and like at the lift, like we talked about, and here at those hurdles, like they're very close for us. We can see exactly what's going on, but for the handler, that's on a much smaller scale.
Very much so. And they're not allowed binoculars. Then he comes now on the last leg of the letter Y in a straight line to that post.
Let's see how far he'll bring him around before he turns him back.
He's in line with the post now. Thick flank to bring him around this side. That's the left-hand flank.
I see the dog having a little look back. He'd say he's anticipating it.
Look at that.
Yeah, he knew it was coming.
I asked him what his look back whistle was, and he put his fingers in his mouth and shouted look back, so he's proved me right that a lot of handlers will use look back on the voice command rather than a whistle, because the whistle all the way around the course, and then the dog, when it hears his voice at distance, knows I've got to do something else. Where on a windy day, sometimes the look back whistle can confuse them and they'll carry on a flank.
My very first international was around Aberystwyth too, but it was on the Trosgoed course, and the one Alad won with Roy.
Oh, I remember that, yes.
And when Alad turned him back that time, and in 97 I remember he did too, he did it on a whistle. But you'll find now that Alad always turns back on some funny Welsh verbal command.
Yeah, that's right. It sounds like shut that door when you're in the grandstand.
Yeah, Mackie a door or something.
Yes.
The Welsh fellas will be laughing at me, of course, but it was a very noticeable change from having a whistle to going back to the verbal. So I asked him, why did you go back to verbals? But, well, he did tell me, but I'm not going to tell you. I have to keep that one a secret.
Yes, because he might have to shoot you now.
So now that's a very nice outrun and a very nice lift. And he has him coming on a lovely line straight to the gates.
Sheep well presented again. So consistent.
And that's very difficult. This is what we're talking about. We can see this here clearly, Mike. But David is out there And he's got, I mean, I don't know, is that 800 yards? But he's got to time his whistles right. So, you know, it looks easy for us, but it's going to take a delay for that whistle to travel up there to the dog's ear.
That's correct, Paddy. And he's so far away, and if they suddenly dodge to the right-hand side of this obstacle now, Nip would struggle, but he's such a good stockman. He's reading these sheep from a fair distance. And he knows the sheep are pulling down to that side of the course, so keeping Nip on the heavy side. He's a long way off them, and he's calling him in now. Leaving where he is. Leaving where he is, else. Now, well done. I've got the benefit of the camera. I saw that was going to happen. Still wants to keep them straight as a die. There's points there from that post at the top, right through the middle of that obstacle. He wants to keep that straight before he kicks Nip for his first packet of sheep to regroup. Gaining points there on this nice straight line. There's an underwater whistle. He knows he's got to go on a flank now. Some dogs get that big flank to go across and tone underwater, as I call it. He knows he's not going to turn back, but he's got to go looking for something in his peripheral vision. Keeping everything calm.
So he won't be being judged, Mike, when he just sends back for these few sheep and regroups them to continue with his just the last little bit of his fetch.
No, for me, he's done that very professional. Left that first group in the straight line and then kick back for that side. He doesn't want to put a lot of mental pressure on the dog, get him tired out, because he needs an engine when he gets back to the shedding ring. But he wants to prove to the judges that he's taking these sheep round the course, not following. Sheep just peering at Nip there. The brave ones will stop on the outside. The sissies, as we call them, they'll pop themselves in the middle, follow like sheep.
From what I'm seeing, though, they're very nice sheep for Supreme, and when you put them into 20 there's no splitting up or dribbling out or no getting in, not so far today anyway, no getting into two packets or anything tricky like that. They're fairly uniform. And
very. Now you've said that.
I saw Tom Sullivan a few minutes ago going up here and with his test pitch, and she got into a lovely rhythm with the sheep, and she was able to kind of maintain it all the way around.
Yes, that's what you want. You want the dog directly behind, driving in a straight line, and those sheep know that dog's there.
You can't hang about too much either. I see it over the years, and I watch videos of Supremes and fellas. They turn on a little bit of speed and pace here if they can, because they've got 20 sheep to push around, and they've got a lot of work to do when they get them back too. So they'll be trying to get them through these obstacles and around the courses, fairly promptly.
He's through that obstacle now. He'll be trying for a tight turn, gain points with his lines. Camera pulls out now and we see what Dai's seeing.
So this drive is bigger than it was yesterday. It's the same direction, but they've stretched it out a little bit. So I think, what did they tell me? It was a 600-yard drive, I think.
Yeah, that's a fair old distance. Because Dai, he's on this sort of ground, lots of sheep. He'll do this in his daily work. This is the icing on the cake for him to come to a competition like this. Nip just tucking that one back in again. We're seeing the sides of the sheep, side of the dog.
From our angle, we're seeing the side of one of these hurls. We're not getting a great look at it. I hope David's getting a better view of it than we are.
So that red-collared one's Nip just listening there. Did you whistle me, governor? Well covered, Nip. Oh, she wanted to pop round the side, but Nip getting a reminder. A deep stand, and he just goes down on his belly. But he's soon up again. He's flicking him round to get a tight turn.
See, it's even hard for David to gauge there, from where he's at, is when they're actually gone through. He gave him an extra little push through there, and it's a little bit wider. But, in terms of an international... Oh, God. Oh, yeah, it didn't come through. It's only a little deviation from the angle we're looking at.
Yeah, it's just the odd point going there. I know what you mean, Paddy. Could have been slightly tighter, but then, as you said, we've got the benefit of the camera and what he sees.
Well, and if we were out there, we'd be making sure to get it. We wouldn't be. We wouldn't want to turn him in front of it. On a final like this.
No, I mean some judges will take half a point to sheep for missing a hurdle. Some will take a full 1 point. Others I've known to take 2. Just depends on the individual judge, but you don't want to give them a chance to use the pencils.
No, and the trouble with missing a hurl is everyone can remember the run that missed the hurl, and so you don't want to give people that. You don't want to give the judges that anyway. So it's very relaxed for us here, sitting looking at this. But I'd imagine when Dave is walking out there, I know myself, he's got a big job of work ahead of him there, and he's got to get 15 sheep out of these 20 and hold on to the 5 of the collars. He's going to be here for a while unless he's very fortunate. And, Mike, when you go out there, like, you've 30 minutes to complete your run, but you'll need most of those minutes, and that's a big job of work, I think.
Yeah, that's right. It's this is when your heart's in your mouth. You're just hoping you can get 4 or 5 off in a nice cut. Settle you down if you can get some to walk away. Gethin seemed to set the standard at the start to put those sheep, the unwanted sheep, behind the pen. I thought a lot of people would have come this other way and shed them out the way.
But you can kind of see too that they're content over there. Every time when they're rejoining their sheep on the fetch, the sheep always tend to be over there under that tree, kind of hanging out. So they seem to draw it there. So it's a good place to leave them. I know it's in the way maybe of your pen after, but they're kind of content to go over there.
Yeah, it's good. And the sheep that you shed off are content to go to the pen and not bolt, or they haven't done as yet. I mean, you could get on Scottish blackface, and you wouldn't dare to leave them so close, because if they bolt, it's a real job to keep them separated.
The blackies had nearly called over the 5. Come on over here with us.
Yes, yeah. When they start bleating like that. He's just manoeuvring Nip back and forth, and he's keeping on a wide arc. He's not coming in. That's what you want. You don't want your dog to put any pressure on yet. Just walks him up. Had a group this end, but I think he wants them to go off the other end like the rest of the competitors have done.
This is one of my favourite elements of sheepdog trials, is this international shed, because it's just such a practical task, and it's very like what you'd be doing every day. Obviously, you won't be holding a few collared sheep, but in a farmer's daily work, you'll often shed off a few sheep like this sooner than bring them back into handling yards and have to bring the whole place. He'll just quill out a batch that he needs.
Yes, well, that's true. I mean, it's meant to represent if you went into a large field and you had a couple of lame sheep amongst a group, and you don't want to take the whole group back to the farm. You'd take 4 or 5, and then you'd probably take them across to a fank, as they call it in Scotland, or a pen, or even against in the corner of a field, and just catch the sheep and spray the feet, do what you want to them. So the collared ones are to represent the ones that you'd really want to catch in a practical situation.
Sometimes in Ireland, your neighbour's fence isn't so good, and well, often it's my fence, and so a few sheep of mine and my neighbours might get mixed, and you could often have to do a little job like this just to take out. It is easier to split your neighbour's sheep and yours because they do know who they are, and they don't, they stay by their friends. But this is the kind of task that you run into in lots of situations, or sheep mixing on the mountain, and rather than bring a whole lot down, you can just quill them out like David's doing here. I'm sure he's very familiar with it.
Yeah, I think he has to practice at it a bit more because his fences are better than yours.
Every cloud has a silver lining. A bad fence is not necessarily a bad thing.
Nip just getting reminded there, stand. I don't want you in yet. I want you in when a red collared one tries to go. This is a truly magical relationship between man and dog, to trust each other. David saying, I'll look for the collared ones, and Nip saying, I'll stop them. You think, little come by. Took it to stop that red collar. Peel her back in. Oh, that was nice. That's a really good peel of 2 there. Just shows you how to do it quietly. Don't let your shed sheep get too far away so it draws the others, but far enough away that they won't interfere when you're penning. Has he got 2 left to get, buddy?
Yeah, still 2 in there. But he has plenty of time. I think he's making nice progress here, and he didn't take too long to get started.
No, and Nip's getting a bit of his breath back and having a rest while he's mentally working as well, doing little movements.
That's lovely now. He's just edged those off the edge, and there's a little test for the dog.
Well done, Nip. You're going to peel those in, quietly call him in onto these 5. Stand it still, let those 2 see the others. There they go, they've seen them. It all happened in a bit of a rush there, and Nip was getting a bit confused, but David calmed him down. See those other sheep over there are calling these 5. That one at the front, she's probably seen her sister go, or her best mate. He's just trying to get her, you're all right, have a little bit of a graze. We're not going to hurt you.
They got a little bit dishevelled there at the end. What do you think the judges might do with that, Mike?
Well, I know there's 20 points in the shedding ring, and you don't want to be hammering them off them because this is very hard work, but they've got to take a judge for that.
Yeah, in a way, there was no fault, but still, it's just a little bit untidy, and so I'd be afraid they might just hit him for some little thing there.
You've got to leave room for the man that does it absolutely perfectly. So there is a differential when some minor minor thing happens like that. Yeah, she's my mate's over there.
Well, it is a little bit tricky with him directly behind the pen. And this one's kind of saying, you know, David, is there any chance I could slip out? She's a little bit like me trying to get to the international. She's saying, is there any spare tickets around maybe for a good-looking Irish fella there? You wouldn't notice me slipping in.
No.
She was trying it, but I think she's
I'd
going to give up now. I didn't give up quite so easy, luckily, and I'm here.
No, I mean, these sheep were all mixed together, but there was a great packet came out both days that hadn't been run on before, mixed in with them. So if you're very unlucky, you might have got 5 sheep that hadn't been on the course before. I doubt it, but because they were all mixed. But there we are. Well done. David takes his cap off.
Well done, David Howells Nip.